Hello and welcome to Yoga as Therapy for Hip and Pelvis Care. Today you'll need a strap, a block, and a blanket. If you don't have these, you can use just a blanket or towel, a book, and a tie or a scarf will work. And we're going to begin our practice today on our backs in constructive rest. Feet about 3 feet away from your buttocks. Arms at your sides with your palms up. Roll your shoulders back, tucking your shoulders back and under slightly, and make sure that the back of your neck is nice and long. You don't want to be lifting the chin up. Check that you have a gentle arch in the lower back. And once you've settled yourself into constructive rest, close your eyes and notice what your body feels like. Feel the floor underneath you supporting the back of your body. And then bring your awareness to your breath. Begin to slowly deepen and lengthen your inhalation and your exhalation. You can count them and make them equal to each other. Now notice the state of your mind. Just notice it without judgment. And bring your attention to your heart. You can bring your hands to your heart as well if you'd like. And ask yourself what you most want for yourself. And keeping in line with the theme of this class, which is to have healthy hips and pelvis, you can say, my hips and pelvis feel good. I feel at ease in my mind and body. I move through life with grace and ease. Whatever it is that resonates with you, state it 3 times as if it were already true. And then bring your arms back down by your sides with your palms up. On your next inhalation, sweep your arms up and overhead, touching the floor above your head with the back of your hands. And as you exhale, draw your knees into your chest one at a time. With your hands on your knees, your fingers pointing towards your toes, move your knees arm's length away from your torso. Inhale here, expanding your chest, your ribs, your belly. And as you exhale, hug your knees in, squeezing your belly in. Inhale away, taking your entire inhalation. And exhale, draw your knees in. Continue with this movement, coordinating your movements with your breath. You're trying to slow down and deepen your breath so that it's as slow and deep as you can make it without straining. And then when you coordinate your movements with your breath, it will feel as if you're moving in slow motion, moving through water. And draw your knees in, hugging them in as firmly as you can. If that creates any pressure on your knees, you can hold on behind your thighs instead. You want to feel a gentle stretch in your hips, your buttocks, and or your lower back. Take a couple of deep breaths, noticing where your breath goes when your abdomen is compressed. And then bring one hand back to each knee. You're going to make circles in opposite directions with your knees. As you do this, notice the movement within your hip joints. Try to make those circles as round and fluid as possible. Notice if there are any places in the hip joints where that's harder to do. Notice if your hips feel similar to each other or if one feels tighter. Switch directions. We're lubricating the hip joints here, creating synovial fluid, which is like the oil that greases the joints to keep them healthy and happy. And then draw the knees back in. Bring your feet back to the floor. This time you want your feet wide, touching the edges of your mat, your knees right above your feet. Bring your arms out to your sides with your palms up, and then slide your arms up either to a T or you can bring them up to a Y, drawing the shoulder blades down. Inhale deeply here. As you exhale, lower both knees slowly to the left as you turn and look to the right. Inhale, lift your knees up, looking straight up. Again, you're moving as slowly as you can, coordinating your movement with your breath, letting your knees rock from side to side like windshield wipers. As you do this, notice the back of your pelvis pushing into the earth. Notice the movement in your hip joints. And the next time that your knees come down to the left, you can hold this stretch. You want to feel this in the front of your right hip, or the front of the right thigh. If you feel it all in the lower back, then just relax here and try to soften that area. If you do feel it in the hip and you want a deeper stretch, you can bring the left foot on top of the right knee, and then even slide that right arm up a little bit higher, feeling that stretch all along the right side of your body. And breathe into the stretch, increasing it from the inside using your inhalation. Exhale, relax those muscles. Let your body become heavier and more relaxed with each exhalation. You're stretching the front of your hips, your hip flexors, which are part of your hips that don't often get stretched, but they do get moved and used a lot in your daily life, so they really need to be opened up. And then release this stretch slowly. Lift your knees back up. And on an exhalation, bring them down to the right, turning to the left. Again, you want to feel this in the front of the left hip and or the quadriceps. If it's all in the lower back, then just relax here and try to soften that. If you want a deeper stretch, you can bring the right foot on top of the left knee and extend the left arm up and overhead, turning your head to the left and noticing what this left side feels like, how it feels different than the right side. Breathe into it, and as you exhale, breathe out any tension. And on your next inhalation, release the pose, lift your knees back up. You can bring your feet and knees together, and then draw one knee in at a time, bringing your knees back into your chest. Inhale them away. Exhale them in. This pose is like neutral. When you're driving a car, you want to come back to a gentle forward fold in between moving in the different directions. And then keep your knees drawn in here, arms out into your sides. Inhale. As you exhale, twist your knees to the left, bringing them as close to that left arm as you can with the right shoulder staying down. Turn your head to the right. Inhale, untwist, looking up. Exhale and twist your knees down to the right, looking to the left. Inhale, untwist. If this is too intense, you can bring your feet to the floor and twist your knees from side to side. Do what feels right for your body. The intention here is to alleviate pain, not to cause more pain. And then you're going to come down to the left in the twist that feels like the most beneficial twist for your body at this moment in time, whether it's a gentler twist or a deeper twist. Either way, you want to relax the weight of your body into the floor. Inhale into that right side. Exhale, drop your weight into the earth. Breathe out the tension. And on an inhalation, slowly untwist. And twist over to the other side. Relaxing your weight into the earth. Scan your body, finding any places where you're holding tension, maybe your forehead, your jaw, your hands, your feet, and relax. Consciously and deliberately relax the muscles of your body. And on an inhalation, slowly untwist, coming back up to center. Draw your knees into your chest. Inhale them away and exhale them in. Inhale away and exhale in. Draw your knees in. Separate your knees out towards the sides of your torso. Hold on behind your thighs and then lift the soles of your feet up towards the ceiling, flexing your feet. You want to feel stretch in your hips. So you might want to stay here, or you can reach up towards your ankles, or maybe even eventually the outer edges of your feet. But if you do this and your shoulders lift way up, then come back down a step so you can draw the shoulders down and relax your head and neck. As long as you feel the stretch in your hips, then you're doing the pose right. This is called Blissful Baby. And you could even rock here, just loosening up your hips, coming into the groin muscles a little bit. And then draw the soles of your feet together, draw them in towards your groin, again drawing the shoulders back towards the earth until you feel the stretch in your groin. Take some slow, deep breaths here. Notice if the stretch softens as you spend a little bit of time here. And then draw your knees back together. Bring your feet to the floor, and then let your knees drop away from each other with the soles of your feet touching. Again, coming into this groin stretch, this butterfly stretch. You should feel it right here. And if you would like to increase the stretch, you can push your feet together as you push your knees away from each other, and then relax. And if you wanted to deepen it even more, you could take your block and put it under your feet so that your feet were lifted. But if it feels like a stretch, then just stay here. You don't have to make it any more. And take slow, deep breaths, maybe letting the warmth of your palms help to soften and relax those tight muscles. Another thing that you can do here is you can slide your arms out and interlace your fingers, bringing your hands behind your head so that you get a stretch in your shoulders as well. And take slow, deep breaths, expanding your chest, your ribs, your belly. Exhale, soften and relax into the earth. You can inhale and lift your knees 3/4 of the way up, and then exhale them back down. Inhale them halfway up. Exhale them down. Inhale them 1/4 of the way up. And exhale them down. You're gently strengthening your inner thigh muscles. And then come about halfway up And relax your hips and pelvis here. Your feet are touching, but you're not pushing them together. And you just want to soften and relax and start to notice what happens in your knees and hips. You might notice a little bit of shaking or trembling. If you do, then just stay with that sensation. If you don't notice anything, then move your knees an inch up or an inch down, and then you might find it a little more easily. And then that shaking or trembling is the release of accumulated tension in your psoas muscles. So those affect the health of your hips and your pelvis. So releasing that tension is a good thing. If you don't like the sensation, if it makes you feel vulnerable or nervous at all, then just draw your knees back together and bring them into your chest. It's kind of an odd feeling because it's not really, you're not making it happen. I'm not bouncing my knees. They're doing this all on their own. You just have to allow it to happen. And if it doesn't happen, don't worry. Just breathe here, relax, keep trying over time. Sometimes they're big movements, sometimes they're little. If it starts to lessen, then you can move your knees up or down slightly to find that shaking or trembling sensation. And you don't want to do it for a long time at first because you can end up with sore groin muscles. So just a little bit, and then relax your knees back down to the earth, feeling that stretch again. Release your hands and bring your hands back to the front of your hips and just soften and relax this whole part of your body. We hold a lot of tension in our hips and pelvis. You want to try to soften and relax. And then bring your hands to your thighs. Draw your knees together. Keep your knees touching and walk your feet away from each other so that your hip joints can relax in the opposite position for a couple of moments. Just to come back towards a neutral position. Notice how your hips feel. Notice the effects of that practice so far on your hips, on your thighs, on all of the sensations in your pelvis. And then bring your feet hip distance apart with your knees right above your feet. Bring one hand to each hip bone and imagine that you have a carpenter's level right across your hip bones, and you want that level to be level. So you can check in with that by first pushing your left buttock into the floor and then your right, rocking them from side to side so you notice when they're not level. And then bring your pelvis to a level position. Keep one hand on each hip and try to keep them here as you bring your right ankle on top of your left knee. So what may happen is that as you do that, that right hip might drop. And that's what we don't want to happen. So if you notice that happening, try to lift the right hip back up so the pelvis is level. Flex the right foot to protect the knee. If this is a stretch in your right hip and buttock already, then you can just hang out here and breathe into that stretch. If you'd like a deeper stretch, you draw the left knee in, holding on behind your left thigh. Draw the shoulders back and down. Relax that left lower leg and take slow, deep breaths, noticing the stretch in your right hip and buttock. This is stretching your piriformis muscles on the right side. And those muscles can be responsible for pinching the sciatic nerve, which can cause sciatica. That's one cause of sciatica. So this stretch is very beneficial if you tend to get pain in your hips or any tingling, nervy sensations going down that right leg. Deep breaths, softening and relaxing. And then release the left foot down. You're going to cross this right knee right over the left knee and then draw those knees in, one hand on each knee. So my left hand's on my right knee, my right hand's on my left knee, and then I'm going to gently draw the knees away from each other and in towards my chest. And again, I'm going to feel it in my right hip and buttock, but in a slightly different area. Breathe deeply. Don't force the stretch. Just find what feels like a comfortable stretch to you. And as we go through all of these stretches in the hips, we're moving the hips in all the different directions that they go. And just notice which directions are tighter for you. And those are the areas that you want to work on, because you want to begin to bring balance into your hips. And then you can bring your left foot to the floor and your left hand to that right knee, your right arm diagonally out, and then twist to the left, feeling the stretch along this right outer thigh. Breathing deeply, relaxing as you exhale, trying to soften within the effort of the pose. And inhale, untwist. Draw your right knee into your chest and stretch your left leg out, flexing that left foot. And then switch legs, drawing the left knee in as you stretch your right leg out, flexing the right foot. Draw both knees into your chest. And then bring your feet to the floor with your knees bent. Your hands to your hips. Check that your pelvis is level. And then bring your left ankle on top of the right knee, flexing that left foot to protect the knee. Again, notice if that left hip dropped, lift it back up. And this might be a stretch on your left buttock or hip. You can stay here, or you can draw the right knee in, holding on behind your right thigh. Relax your right lower leg, draw the shoulders back. And then notice this left hip and buttock and how it feels. If it feels tighter or looser than the right side did. Just notice that, getting to know your own body and your own imbalances. None of us are really symmetrical. And whatever side is tighter for you, then when you practice on your own, you want to spend a little more time on that side and end on that side, so that you're trying to bring the tighter side so that eventually it's as flexible as its other side, its partner. Deep breaths. Keeping the breath slow and steady throughout the practice. And then lower your right foot to the floor. Cross your left knee right on top of the right knee. On an exhalation, draw your knees in. Your right hand comes to the left knee. Your left hand comes to the right knee. Draw your knees away from each other and in towards your chest until you feel the stretch in your left hip and buttock. Bring all of your awareness to whatever sensations this posture makes you aware of. Notice your breath and how this posture affects your breath and how your breath affects this posture. And then notice the state of your mind, what's happening in your mind. And bring your right foot to the floor, your left arm diagonally up and away. Exhale, twist your left knee to the right, feeling the stretch on your outer left thigh and buttock. And take slow, deep breaths into that stretch. Exhale, drop the weight of your body into the earth. Stay present with what you're feeling, what the physical sensations are in your body. Stay focused on your breath, keeping it slow and relaxed. And on an inhalation, untwist. Draw your left knee into your chest as you extend your right leg, flexing that foot. Inhale and switch legs. Exhale, draw your right knee in, extending your left leg, flexing your left foot. And then draw both knees into your chest. You're going to bring your feet to the floor, close to your buttocks. Feet hip distance apart, knees hip distance apart. You can actually grab your block and your blanket and have them close to you. You can use the block between your knees and thighs to keep your knees at the right distance and also to strengthen your inner thigh muscles. As you inhale, keep your buttocks on the floor, sweep your arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, bring your arms to your sides and flatten your back into the floor. Inhale, lengthen and arch. Exhale and flatten your back into the floor, engaging your belly in and up. One more time. Exhale, push your lower back into the floor. Keep your lower back engaged into the floor. Now push equally into both feet and lift your pelvis up, starting at your tailbone. You're going to peel your vertebrae up off of the floor one at a time as you bring your arms up and overhead. And then exhale and come down, pushing your vertebrae into the floor one at a time, starting at the top of your spine. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale up and hold, pushing evenly into both feet, both shoulders. Maybe you can lift a little bit higher. Draw your lower belly in and up to protect your lower back. And take slow, deep breaths here. You want to try to relax within the effort. And on an exhalation, come down slowly. Remove the block. And we're going to inhale back up into bridge pose and place this block under the back of your pelvis. You want to come down and you want the whole back of your pelvis to be resting firmly on that block. You don't want it on your lower back at all. If this feels a little bit too intense, a little too much of a stretch, then you can use the blanket instead, which won't come up as high and it's a little softer. So again, check to make sure that your pelvis is really resting on that block, one hand on each hip bone. Then just rock your hips from side to side, feeling the back of your pelvis on this block. Just this feeling of the pressure of the back of your pelvis on the block is helping to improve your body awareness, knowing where your pelvis is in space. And when your brain knows better where it is, that's called your sense of proprioception, then your brain automatically adjusts the position of your pelvis so that it's better aligned. So you can rest here in this supported bridge pose, just feeling the weight of your pelvis dropping down onto that block. If it feels good and doesn't cause any pain in the back of your hips or in your lower back, then you can extend your legs and you can bring your arms up and over as well. As I did that, I just felt my weight shift so that I'm not right on that block. So I'm going to move the block a little bit down and then come back into that extended bridge pose. And if you feel this all in the lower back, then it might be a little too high for you and you want to come back and do it with the blanket instead of the block. If you feel it in the front, maybe stretching your belly or the front of your hips or your thighs, then just soften and relax your body, resting it down into the earth, down into that block. And as you breathe deeply, try to relax the front of your body. This is the opposite position that our body is in all day long. So this is a really nice opening to reverse that chronic forward folding that we're always doing. And notice what happens as you spend time here. If as you spend time here you're able to relax more and more deeply, then it's a good pose for you to spend time in. But if your muscles start to tighten in any way, or twinge or tweak or just start talking to you, then come back to the supported bridge with your knees bent, or use the blanket instead of the block. If this continues to feel good with your legs extended, we can come into a little bit of a side stretch that's going to stretch the lower psoas muscles. So you can do it from here, or you can do it with the blanket, or you can remove the block and come right onto your back flat on the floor and do this side stretch. So what it would look like with either of those versions is that you would slide your feet to the left, keeping your pelvis right where it is until you feel a stretch along the right hip. And then you could slide your upper body to the left, including your shoulder girdle. You want both shoulders, both arms on the floor, and you can turn your head to the right. You're going for a stretch along the right side of your body, maybe up into the front of the right hip. If it doesn't feel good anywhere, then come down, use the blanket, or just do this stretch flat on your back on the floor. And close your eyes, breathing into that right side of your body. Exhale, relax into the earth. And when we relax and release tension from our psoas muscles, then we are sending a direct message up our spinal nerve to our brain to soften and relax all the tension in our body. It's telling our nervous system that we're safe, that everything's okay in this moment, and so the whole body can relax. And then on an inhalation, you're going to slowly come back to a straight line. Just take a moment there, noticing, before you slide your feet to the right until you feel the stretch along the left side. Slide your torso to the right, keeping your pelvis level, both shoulders on the floor. Turn your head to the left and feel that stretch along the left side of your body. Take deep breaths into that side of your body. Exhale, let go of any tightness, any tension in your mind or body, just let it go. And on an inhalation, come back nice and slow. You want to come out of the poses as consciously as you come into them, sliding your feet back, checking with your pelvis. You can rock it from side to side. You can tilt it forward and back here. And then you're going to push into your feet. Tuck your tailbone under and lift up off the block. Remove the block and put it off to the side, coming down. Inhale, bring your arms up and overhead, arching your back. Exhale, your arms to your sides, flattening your back on the floor. Inhale, lengthen and arch. Exhale and flatten your back into the floor as you squeeze your belly in and up. As you do this, what you're doing is tilting your pelvis forward and back. On an exhalation, draw your knees into your chest. Inhale your knees away and exhale them in. Inhale away, exhale in. One more time. Hug your knees in. Take 3 slow, deep breaths here, breathing into the sides of your rib cage. And you're going to bring one hand to each knee and make circles in opposite directions with your knees. Notice how your hip joints feel now compared to when we began the practice. Switch directions. We've moved your hips in all the directions that they go now, so that hopefully they feel looser, more open and relaxed. And hug your knees in. And then bring your feet to the floor. Slide your feet away, coming back to constructive rest, arms at your sides with your palms up. Tuck your shoulders back, a gentle arch in your lower back. And notice your body in space. Notice the effects of your practice on your physical body, especially on the sensations and your awareness of your pelvis, your hips. And then notice the quality of your breath. And the state of your mind.